back here with Walking the Weird. I am Tyler, and with me as always,
It's Shawn, guys.
And we have a case with the Menendez brothers. So this is like a Netflix thing, or
so this was a case that happened in Beverly Hills about the 80s.
It's real.
It's a real case.
Okay.
It happened about in August 20th, 1989.
Okay.
And it was an actual case of two brothers, Eric Menendez and Lyle Menendez, who killed both their parents. Netflix has done a quick little biopic of their thing. There's a few things wrong with it, just like how they had, because it's from the same guys who made the show Dahmer. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're the same guys that made that show, and there's some inconsistencies.
So, sorry, before you get into that, is it like inconsistencies as in like creative license?
No, it's inconsistencies with the way the guy portrays the case, and the cases, and how he explains the story. He tries to be unbiased, but comes off as biased, and then comes off as okay. So basically, let me just explain it to you.
Wait. He's so trying to be unbiased, he becomes biased.
No.
Heavily.
He's so biased that he becomes unbiased and then biased the other way.
Oh, well, so he's biased, yeah.
So okay, in the story, I'm gonna give you the brief synopsis of the Netflix one, right? So basically, in the brief synopsis, these guys kill their parents. The way the director paints it is that they killed them for the inheritance money, and then realized that there was abuse along with it. So they're like, yeah, that's why we did it.
Okay, because I was gonna ask when MK Ultra entered the chat.
Okay.
Because it's always that every time. Like, am I wrong?
You are not, but it has.
Or as we're finding out recently, the FBI knew about them like every time. So sorry, go ahead. It's just every time
they knew about them, but it was in a different way. So the background of
it doesn't.
You'll get there. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean.
It still counts.
You'll see what I mean. It had surprisingly, it had nothing to do with MK Ultra. I think this was right after that time, but whatever. So essentially, it shows it in the light that they did it for the inheritance money, and then kind of added the abuse, and then the brothers who are still alive have commented on it and said, "This is not what happened, like at all. Like this isn't anything what happened," and it heavily based off a guy's article that he wrote in Vanity Fair as a gossip column. He wrote it. His name was Dominic Dunn. He wrote a piece basically saying that they were evil, conniving monsters and everything. He's, for people who don't know who Dominic Dunn is, he is the dad of the guy, but he's the dad of the girl who died by Charlie Manson's hands, the one from Poltergeist, the little girl. That's his daughter. She died. Okay, cool. You know what? She's better off. After I read about the dad, she's better the fuck off. Just saying. Anyway, so we'll get there.
He's a piece of shit too.
He exploits her death to give credibility to his articles.
Yeah, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah,
that's really bad.
He's like,
yeah.
I mean, my daughter died, so if anybody knows the evil in the room would be me. It's like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, okay, I get that your daughter died. Horrible tragedy. She was a great actress. She was pregnant. She shouldn't have died.
Sharon Tate?
Say what?
Sharon Tate?
I want to say it was Tate, but I can't remember exactly what her name was. But it was one of them that got killed in there, right?
Again, MK Ultra.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him and everything, and I feel so bad for him. But it's like, bro, not everything means that you're the expert.
But somehow everything's related to MK Ultra. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Anyway,
it's just in everything.
So basically the parents, his name is Joseph Menendez, and the mom is Menendez, but they refer to her as Kitty.
Okay.
All right, so they refer to her as Kitty. Pretty much everybody knows her as Kitty. So anyway, Joseph Menendez was the CEO of Hertz, and he did a lot of deals with Shaq and all that stuff. Like a lot of famous people. They were very famous. They lived in Beverly Hills in a $2.6 house, which in California is not that impressive, but you know, they lived in those places. Kitty was a stay-at-home mom. Some people reported her as being very wholesome and nice. Others reported her as a psychotic drunk. So we'll see how that goes. And Joseph was seen as another person to compare him is Joe Jackson. They compare him to Joe Jackson in that way, that he's very on his boys. He wants his boys to be the best. He wants the boys to be everything. All that stuff, right? He wants everything at the pinnacle, but he's an extreme hard ass. So he's belittling, degrading, and every chance he can to his kids and everybody else. And a lot of people go, oh, it's just tough love. Other people are like, hey, that's maybe too far. Nobody really knew the extent of it, so in the public eye, no one could really know.
With that, there is a very, very fine line, like where you can.
Yeah, you have Michael Jackson and then pedophiles. Those are the thin lines right there. You have, you know what I mean? But so it sucks because to everybody, a lot of people really kind of saw it as like, oh, they're good parents. They're just a little rough,
they're strict.
Right? They're strict. So basically, the way their background was going, they were like A students. Both were in tennis. They both were in different, I guess, weight classes for tennis or different leagues in tennis. I don't know, or age or something. I don't know. Anyway, and they were both the best in their division, right? As they're coming down, they're starting to notice that they had a bit of a rough record. Joe Lyle Menendez, the older brother, and Eric Menendez get caught breaking into houses. They break into houses and everything like that. They start breaking into homes of other people who are their friends and stuff. They start acting out, and a lot of people kind of see that on the map like, oh, they're just snobby rich kids who are, acting out, being all dicks and everything like that, right? And then Eric, or Lyle, the older brother, he gets kicked out of his Ivy League school, Princeton, for he get kicked out, and then basically essentially his dad goes up to the dean and threatens, hey, if you don't put my son back in, I'm just gonna stop donating to the fucking school.
As they do. Which is actually pretty normal.
It's actually pretty normal. But no one threatens the dean's life as well. You know what I'm saying? So Joe kind of crossed that line there. Basically what they got rid of is 1 year suspension for him, right? Well, during this time, there's building conflicts at the house. Really building conflicts. Like, things are going really bad. And everything happens where they're arguing whatever, right? I'm leaving some of the arguments out and some of the stuff that goes out because we're going to have to go over it so you can better understand their headspace a little later. So, up till now, they've had pretty normal childhoods from what anybody can see on the outside. Now, as we start developing, you see that the actual crime itself, on the evening of August 20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty were watching the television in the den of their Beverly Hills mansion when Lyle and Eric entered the den carrying Mossberg 12-gauge shotguns. Jose was shot 6 times, including the fatal shot in the back of the head. Kitty was shot 10 times in total. Before the fatal shot to her cheek and the side of her face, she was on the ground crawling away. Lyle ran to his car, reloaded, and fired a fatal shot to her face. Immediately after the killings, the brothers remained in the house expecting the police to arrive due to the respond. After a few hours, when the police did not arrive, they called. They had a 911 call where Lyle is, the older brother, is screaming on the phone, and he's like, hey, someone shot my parents, they're dead. And you can hear Eric in the background pretty much giving out primal, like, it sounded like primal screams, like really, really. I listened to the 911 call, and it was pretty
dark.
It was pretty graphic. Like, you can hear it and you're like, oh my God, there's pain in these guys. And then you start finding out everything and you're like, oh.
And that's a lot of shots to not kill them.
And
like,
it was reported, obviously, this was reported in the Vanity Fair gossip rag, that Lyle Menendez told his mom, why don't you just fucking die? That never happened.
Even with that, like,
that guy wrote in the gossip rag that it.
Of
that
course,
he said
of
that.
course he did.
Of course he did.
Of course he did.
Yeah, it never happened. He never said that. That never took place.
If it bleeds, it leads.
It bleeds, it leads, and that's on Vanity Fair. So,
especially back in the day.
Vanity Fair, and these guys had a different life than normal people do. So, a lot of the restaurants that you think, oh, well, why were they at a restaurant at fucking 11? Well, for them it's opened because they're rich. So they're open later.
Because everything's open.
Because everything's open. That's just as much how you want to spend. But anyway, when the police arrived, the brothers told him that the killings had occurred while they were at the movie theater watching Batman. Shout out to everybody, Batman. Hey. Anyway, and attending the Taste of LA.
Don't sully Batman with this.
It's not Batman Forever. It's the first one.
That one's good.
I know it's good. But anyway, they didn't actually go see it. They just said that they went to go see it.
Bastards.
And they attended the Taste of LA festival in Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. The police in this case, because of who they were,
actually did their jobs?
No, mishandled.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's like a 50-50 chance they actually give a shit, or they're like, we can't let this happen.
So typically, if you're not familiar, and if the audience is not familiar, typically in 911 calls, even if you're the guy who called, if you are there, they approach you like you're a suspect. They pull out their guns, hands on the ground, get down on the ground, put your hands behind your back.
That's fair.
Yeah, they don't know what they're walking into. I get that. I totally get that. The hands behind your back, get down on the ground, put your hands behind your back, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They cuff you. They start interrogating you. Hey, what's going on? What's happening? Blah, 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 blah. And everything like that. So they didn't do that with the Eric Menendez brothers. Or the Menendez brothers, not the Eric Menendez brothers, but the Menendez brothers. They also didn't test gunshot residue from the initial thing. So typically, even if you're there at the scene, they'll take you downtown, they'll interrogate you, whatever, unless you ask to remain silent. They process you, they fingerprint you, and then they test you for like GSR, DNA, or anything like that. So that way they have a lead on the case because you're the lead. You called. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking at you like that. Like, and they failed to do that.
Couldn't just put their hands on like the tape thing. Like it's all 2 seconds.
They didn't have the tape thing back then.
Okay.
Back then it was a swab.
Oh, okay.
That
but you know what I'm talking about? Like that's the first thing that happens. They go, yeah, here, put your hands like this while they're talking to you, and then you're good. Like
now they have it to where they can do it with the tape, and it picks up the gunshot residue. But back then they had a swab. Okay. They would swab your hands, and then
why wouldn't you do that?
Why wouldn't you do that? It's protocol. They have a little chemical solution that would reveal it, even if it's on your hands. They would reveal it.
So they were in college. The children.
Yes.
Okay, so that doesn't make sense. Now I can see them skipping that if it's clearly like a kid.
Even then, you shouldn't skip it.
But I'm not saying they shouldn't. But I could see them doing that. Like,
okay,
like it's a kid. Like let's get them.
I guess because when they showed up, they were overly emotional, and they were screaming.
But they're adults. Like, sorry,
you have to treat them the way that you would, right?
And it's not. I'm not saying it's right, but you have to because.
Well, after that they didn't ask for that, they were it was said that if they would have gotten it, they would have been able to indicate if they shot the gun, they shot the Mossbergs, whatever. They didn't find the Mossbergs, whatever, at first, all that stuff. Whatever. The police initially thought, like the responding people thought that it was a mob hit. Because Jose was involved with like shady underbelly, but there wasn't like direct ties to the mob. It's just like, hey, he talked, but it could have been like, and I'm quoting because Donald Trump is the only one that I know about this. Donald Trump, where he said that he had encounters with the mob, and they would try to like extort him, and he's like, "Nah, bro, I'm not gonna do that." Like, kind of like that is what they say that he did. And that's logical though. Yeah, I get why you thought that. Yeah, of course you're gonna look into that because. However, Dominic Dunn from Vanity Fair stated that when the police got there, that Eric and Lyle were screaming that the mob had done it. But Shawn, you gotta remember, his daughter died. Like, dude, genuinely, after hearing that, yeah, go fuck yourself. Yeah. Like, sorry, go ahead. No, it's true though. Like, it's true. Like, why would you do that? But I bet you if he sees this, that's gonna be your response. Genuinely go fuck yourself. Genuinely go fuck yourself for that. Yeah, like why would you do that? Like I guess all your daughter died, that's fine. But why don't you do something like what is it? Like what is it? His name is Ken Walsh, the guy who found his son's severed head on the side of the road. Adam Walsh. What did he do? Instead of bitching and going to write for Vanity Fair, he started up fucking America's Most Wanted and FBI's Most Wanted countdown to do cases like we're doing to try to find other people that do this shit. It's just that's more productive. Anyway, I don't even want to fucking talk about you. I want you to be like faded into case. Go ahead. Case. Go ahead. Anyway, so they after that, like they failed to do the test. They failed to do a lot of the initial. They found a guy whose SUV was also brought back to a guy from Van Nuys. It was just some porn guy. He had rented a mansion nearby.
It's California.
Had a few little threesomes, a few butt plugs, shit like that.
California.
And moved on. Whatever, right? Not a big deal. The police and Dominic Dunn. I'm gonna call him Nick Dunn. Nick Dunn and the police, in the Vanity Fair piece and in the report, said that after the months of the death, Eric and Lyle had a huge expenditure. Huge. What I mean huge is that they bought Rolex cars, they bought 2 condominiums outside of Marina del Rey, they booked an overseas trip to the Caribbean and London, they got Rolexes, they bought New York Knicks tickets, floor seats, and it came out to a total of $700,000 before their arrest. Now, while the police and Nick Dunn said that, oh, this is an exuberant amount for them, a lot of their family members were like, this is what they always spend on.
So
what do you mean?
Almost like they were trying to be like normal.
Yeah.
Or they like knew. They're like, hey, let's have our normal time before they take us.
Right, exactly. Before they take us or whatever, thinking that they were going to get caught or whatever. They ended up, because of all these expenditures, they ended up on the back of a trading card. On the actual background of a trading card for Mark Jackson. It's from the New York Knicks. He's passing a ball and you can actually see them on the very side. So that card now is not only worth a lot of money because Mark Jackson's a great basketball player, but also because the Menendez brothers are in the background. Right after the murders, I guess. So they're right there. But anyway, so that's just a little fun fact about that. But yeah, a lot of people reported the differences in the spending habits. Some people said, no, that's not true. Y'all full of shit. Whatever. During the early stages of the investigation, police tried to narrow their search and suspects who have motives to kill Jose and Kitty, and also investigated potential mob leads, like I had said. As the investigation continued, they began to suspect the brothers were the most likely perpetrators due to the obvious financial motive and their exorbitant spending after the killings, is what was reported. Again, these people are reporting that because these people have no clue how rich people spend, first of all. Second of all...
And I think that varies, but
right.
If you look at their logs and the family is always spending $700,000, that's not unusual for them.
It's just for them. Yeah. Not the parents. It's just for them. That's their
budget.
Oh,
that's okay. So
that's their budget.
Then that's not unusual.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, it's unusual. It's like, no, it's unusual for you.
Right.
You're
exactly.
not them. Like, and I bet you that's probably pretty light. Depending on all the other families around there,
yeah.
They're like, wow, you only get $700,000 as a week as like
or a month or whatever.
Money.
It's like, damn, that sucks.
I get $1 million, and
yeah.
and I thought that was like,
and I thought I was being abused type shit. Like there's people that really think that.
Yeah, you don't know, so you can't just say that.
Yeah, but they did their story and everything like that, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, it was obviously because of the money. Now I'm gonna go back a little bit into the history. According to Eric and Lyle Menendez and a few people who were friends with them that had done that, their parents cut them off. According to what they said is that the parents cut him off. The dad had told Lyle and Eric, you're not in the will, you're done. So for them, the motivation of money doesn't stick. They had no clue that they were going to inherit their money.
Oh, so they thought even if they die, we're not getting anything.
Yeah.
Well, they still might inherit, but like...
Well, the dad specifically had said, you were out of the will. You were getting nothing. And he had made the executor of the estate his brother. So during this time that they were doing
it... would have transferred to other family members.
Right, and then the executor of the estate had to separate everything based on the will. However... during that time, no one really had access, so they were just spending what they would normally spend or what they thought would normally spend until they were either going to get caught or told, hey, the money's not going to you, or whatever they thought that was going through their heads. They began to suspect the brothers, but also there was an enormous amount of pressure from the police chief and the investigators to apprehend the brothers because they had handled another situation with a famous singer. Her name was Jaja, but I can't remember her last name. She got pulled over for allegedly an unlawful reason, and they roughed her up and beat her up. But she was like an old lady.
Oh, that's
so
shitty.
Beverly Hills Police Department was facing the sloppy job of the Menendez brothers and the Jaja.
So they gotta see. We did everything right.
Yeah, we had to do everything.
We did
right.
what the public wanted.
Right, stuff like that. So that's what they were kind of going towards. They were like, hey, we need to start putting the blame on the brothers. We need to start looking at the brothers and everything like that. It's not so much that they had evidence, is that they needed to pin it on someone.
They needed a win.
They needed a win, is what they basically needed. So, again, people thought it was for the money, all that stuff. And then, in an attempt to get a confession from Eric, the police arranged for his friend Craig Kignarly, I can't pronounce the name, to ask him whether he had killed his parents or not. Eric denied it, but it was much more intense than that. The police try to leave this out because it didn't go well for them. Eric Menendez and this guy, Craig, had released or had written a screenplay called Friends. It wasn't about it wasn't about five friends in New York that fuck each other.
Yeah.
No, it's not about that. That's a good
coffee
show.
shop.
Right. No. This one was based on the billionaire boys club, where the kids kill their parents for the money and all that stuff. So they kind of did a little twist on that, right? And Craig, when he approaches him, he starts referencing the plot for the story that they wrote, right?
Script, yeah.
Yeah, and he tells the police about it. So they set up this whole wire thing where Craig is like, or where Eric is like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, are you talking about the fucking script? He goes, yeah. He goes, bro, I didn't kill my fucking parents. I don't know who the fuck did. Like, why are you bringing this shit up? Like, this is stupid. Like, what the fuck? So they kind of pull the guy out of there, and they go to Craig, and Craig, he not does time, but he gets in trouble for misleading the police, according to them. Because he said that he thought that they had drawn blueprints to kill his parents before with the script, and he's like, that's not enough.
You're just finding shit.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do what you want, so yeah.
Yeah. So
they
had,
like that.
He got in trouble for misleading, but not for the actual script. Craig said that the script was a blueprint for Eric, is what he said, and they're like, yeah, what you're giving us is not enough information, bro. Like, you're barely giving us anything. But Nick Dunn was the one that took it and said, they had planned it before.
But they still went with it. So on one hand, he didn't give you guys enough information.
But on the second hand,
you still went with it. So why did he get in trouble? That's kind of your fault.
Because you made him look like an idiot.
Yeah, and that's stupid.
And then Nick Dunn took it a step further, and he was like, oh, this movie was supposed to be a conspiracy. It was really their true feelings, and this is how they were going to do it. It's almost planned to the end. And then the movie, they're like, oh, they walked in through the back of the terrace and shot their parents. When the police report and the coroner's report say, no, they were shot head on, dude. Like, they came in through the hallway normal.
Dude, I want to write for a magazine. Apparently, I can just write whatever the fuck I want and get paid.
Nick Dunn was so criticized because it almost seemed like he didn't read the police report at all. He was talking about how Eric looked at his mom and shot her and everything like that. And when they're like, according to the GSR residue that we found on her from the angle, Eric was standing behind her. Or Lyle was standing behind her, not even in front of her.
Dude, he doesn't even realize, like, I was there, bro. I was there that night. I mean, I wasn't born yet, but I was there that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, write that.
Like, it was a bunch of things.
Just put me in it, bro.
Nick Dunn was one of those. He tried to be the next Paul
We're about to say Paul Stamets?
No, I was about to say Paul Steinberg, but that's not the guy.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about the writer for the San Francisco. Yeah, I think so. Was it Steinbeck? I don't remember. He was the article writer for the San Francisco
Herald. I think I'm thinking comics. I'm sorry.
I think you're thinking comics. No,
sorry,
he was the writer for the San Francisco Daily Chronicle, and he was after the Zodiac Killer, and he was such a legend. Nick Dunn was trying to go with it and try to catch his own wind and shit. Like, anyway, the point is, we're done with that guy for now. So, Eric denied it. He goes, Eric eventually, stating that he had numerous dreams and nightmares. He went to his psychologist, Jerome Oziel, who then told his mistress, because that's always smart, Judalong Smith, the girl with the rocks, the one I was telling you earlier. They show on Netflix where she's like, I'm gonna give you a black amethyst so that way you're protected from harm. And I'm like, oh my god. But anyway, Judalon, what's her name? Smythe or whatever. Oziel later broke up with Smith, and in a fit of rage after she told the police and about the brothers' involvement, she also mentioned it to who else? Nick Dunn and a few other people who later went and said that everyone was in danger, that this was a spree, and they were going to continue killing and la-di-da-di-da. And anyway, she did this whole thing. Anyway, they broke up and they did all that, and she told them about the brothers' involvement. Lyle was arrested on March 8th, 1990, and Eric turned himself in 3 days later, returning to Los Angeles from Israel from a tournament, a tennis tournament. I'm sorry.
Tennis.
Yeah, I know, right? Both were held without bail and jailed separately. In August 1990, Judge James Albrecht ruled that the tapes of the conversations between Eric and Oziel were admissible evidence, since Oziel stated that Lyle threatened him and violated doctor-patient privilege, which he kind of did. Albrecht's ruling was appealed, after which the proceedings were delayed for 2 years, and the Supreme Court of California ruled in 1992 that most of the tapes were admissible, with the exception of the tape on which Eric discussed the murders. So that part was not admissible. After that decision, a Los Angeles County grand jury issued indictments in December 1992, charging the brothers with murder of their parents, a murder in the first degree. Now, this is where it gets spicy. During the trials, the Menendez case became a worldwide sensation when Court TV broadcasted the trial in 1993. Represented by their defense lawyer, Leslie Abramson, the brothers stated that they killed their parents out of fear of their lives for a lifetime of abuse at the hands of their parents, especially sexual abuse at the hands of their father, who was described as a cruel perfectionist and a pedophile. Meanwhile, their mother was described as an enabling, selfish, mentally unstable alcoholic and drug addict who encouraged her husband's behavior and was also violent towards the brothers. Pause there.
Damn, bro.
So, according to the philosophy of Jose, the testimony and some of the tapes, he would make the brothers perform oral sex on him when they were 6 and 7 years old.
Wait, okay, the dad?
The dad. His reasoning was because the Spartans did it.
Okay.
Which they did not. Which they did not. Whatever, though. Spartans had a very hard training, but whatever.
But how does that... Oh, it'll make you into a man. It's like, no, you fuck them up.
Yeah.
We have learned a thing or two since that time that doesn't help anything.
According to Lyle and Eric, it started off with just fondling. And then
just fondling.
It started off with just fondling, then it moved to oral sex, then it moved to rape and other things as the time progressed. Now here's the fucked up part of it. Lyle confronted his dad when he was about 8 for wanting to have sex with him, and basically said it hurts, and he says, no, I don't want to hurt you, so he stopped and then started molesting Eric, the younger brother. Now, out of all this, because Lyle was so used to it, and according to the psychologist, he was so traumatized that he had to normalize the behavior that was going on with his dad. Along with the dad molesting Eric, Lyle also started molesting Eric.
Oh, yeah, well, that...
In a way that makes sense. It's shitty, but it makes sense.
Oh.
But whatever. So he started doing that. After a few years, when he kind of got into his teenage years, he realized that everything that was going on was wrong, was incorrect. And he stood up to his dad and said, hey, the things that you do with Eric, stop. And he stopped as well. He stopped and started protecting his brother during conflicts and everything like that, right? Basically stopped them from happening, or so he thought. It wasn't until right before the murders that Lyle found out that Eric and his dad never stopped being involved. The dad continued to molest and rape Eric until he was in his 20s, or until he was in 19 or whatever, right? So he did that. And
because the Spartans did it.
Because the Spartans did it.
Oh my god!
Hang on. It gets worse. Gets worse. So Eric or Lyle Menendez, he was caught for plagiarism, and he was kicked out of his school. I told you that, right? I told you he was kicked out of his school, and he was kicked out of all that. The dad said, "Don't worry, you'll come work for me because we got you on a 1-year suspension. You'll come work for me. Nobody will know about this. We'll go back to normal, and you'll go back to school, right?"
Yeah.
Well, according to Lyle, during one of the times when he was getting ready to work, he was taking a shower and he saw a big clump of hair in his hand. Right? So he kind of tried to brush it off as whatever, and his dad started noticing that he was going bald. So the dad forced Lyle to get hair implants and a toupee that literally, according to them, even though it was like it stuck on to the front, there was hooks embedded into his skull that it would grip onto. So if you went like this, it wouldn't lean back, so it would just stay on, but it would grip into the hooks of his skull. So he forced them, even though Lyle had said, well, what if I'm just bald? Like, what if I'm just bald and I just grow a beard? Which is like the most trend now. Of
Dude,
all
that's
the
what
guys.
I'm doing.
For real. You think he has a hat on for no reason? Bro, please. Anyway, but like, he forced him to do it. So during the time, he's like, I'm not going to have anybody embarrassed of me and blah, blah, or embarrassing me or anything because you're bald, whatever. Stuff like that. Jose also had a reputation of like going on to like their tournaments and stuff and like cussing at them from the stands, belittling them, degrading them in front of their coaches, and their coaches would be like, hey bro, like calm down, like relax, it's just a game. And they'd be like, oh, you know what, you're fired. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, so he was a maniac.
He's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was a maniac according to them. During one of the times, the mom was kind of strung out on a few drugs and was talking to Lyle about marrying this girl who he wasn't allowed to date unless the parents approved it. He's a man, but he can't date anybody, whatever, right? And during one of those times, he calls his mom something derogatory.
It wasn't traditionally Spartan.
Yeah, it wasn't traditionally Spartan. I don't know.
Oh, dude. If you wanted to be traditionally Spartan, if that is true, by the way, most Spartan men could not get a wife until they went to war once, came back, and had to like wrestle them.
And also, even to leave to war, you were supposed to ask your wife.
Yeah.
You were supposed to ask your wife.
And they had to do the whole either come back with your shield or on it kind of thing. Where's that part, asshole?
Even though 300 glorified it, that was really a tradition that they had. Yeah,
sorry, but like if you're gonna do the whole, oh, it's okay to rape my children because it's Spartan culture, where's the rest of the Spartan culture?
Yeah.
Oh wait, it wasn't about that.
But it wasn't even. But they didn't even do it. The Spartans didn't even do that.
I know, but you get like if you're gonna, if that's your
line in the sand, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, where. Anyway, go on.
During one of the arguments, it was supposed to be around the same time, if not the same day, according to record, that Lyle confronted his dad about Eric and said, "Hey, if you keep doing this, I'm gonna fucking tell everybody. I'm gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna sing it from the high heavens, right?" And according to what happened with Lyle said that the moment that he wanted to kill his parents was when he found out that this was still going on, and his mom pretty much told him, "You don't think I knew what was fucking going on?" Like, so she knew and admitted that she didn't want to like fuck up the family
because of the money. It wasn't the family; it was the money. She was willing to give up her sons to this guy for money,
to whatever he
needed,
so
she could live in the lap of luxury. That's what happened.
And let's say that she wanted to preserve the family. That's whatever.
What family?
Why would you cover up for that guy?
What family? That's not a family.
Anyway, in those things, in those arguments, I guess, according to what Eric said, the reason that he wanted to kill his parents was when his mom ripped off his brother's wig. His mom ripped off his brother's wig in front of everybody, and the dude was humiliated, and he was like crying, and he was like it was something that he was so pained with because of his dad, and they did that.
So he didn't want it, and then they humiliated him.
And then they humiliated him for it. So that's when he wanted to kill. And I know a lot of people are like, so it's fucking hair, it's fucking all that. It's like, it's the trauma that you suffer.
It's everything behind it.
Yeah, it's everything that it means.
If it was him getting the wig and he was trying to be it, and then you did that, yeah, that's really, really shitty. But if what they're saying is true, there is years of sexual and physical and emotional abuse behind that action. And if what they said about her is correct, she let it happen.
She
So
let it happen.
then she humiliates him too.
Yeah.
Like,
And don't get me wrong, Eric Menendez and Lyle Menendez are pieces of shit too. They broke into people's houses even though they're rich. They claimed it was because their dad cut him off, did whatever. Okay, whatever. They're pieces of shit. You killed your parents also. They're pieces of shit. I get it. You didn't have to go that far. You could have told someone.
why didn't you just leave?
What?
Why didn't you just make your own lives?
They-
And if they cut you off, be like, I don't care.
The difference is, the reason I think that happened is because they were used to the cushion.
They know no other way.
They know no other way. So for them, it was like, we're fucked.
That's
Even though for us, it's like, oh, dude, who cares?
I
Like,
just
I'll
had the
do
thought,
that.
but that's also abuse.
That's also abuse, yeah. You never let
They
them
don't
really do anything.
You can't ever let they. You know that you made such a cushy life for them. They will never leave the cage.
And they can't leave the cage, and they're
because
stuck
they
there.
don't know what to do.
So they'll take whatever you give them because that's what they're used to. So the layers of abuse.
Damn, that's fucked. That's really
no, that
dark.
really gets you when you
Like,
think about it. You're like, fuck,
Oh,
dude.
and it's not an excuse. At
No,
no point.
no
is
point.
It's literally just like, dude,
If all this is true, which we're gonna get to where people start debating whether it's true or not.
yeah,
Because here's a few things that happened along with all the charges and everything. Both Eric and Lyle were tried separately, which is normal,
yeah,
and they were both found in a deadlock jury, which means automatic dismissal. Right? So because they were automatically dismissed, they tried them together and removed the evidence of the abuse. The judge ordered to remove all the evidence of abuse, so they weren't allowed to use it because according to the judge, the counselor hadn't proved solid evidence that there was molestation, even though family members had came out and confirmed the molestation, even though Eric and Lyle both said that, and a few of their friends had confirmed the sexual molestation that had taken to the house and everything like that.
I get it. No, I don't get it. But it's like, dude, just say hey because it makes the defendant look too like sorry to the jury. It colors the defendant in a certain way. Don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. That's just hey, we need him to go to prison. So
and they were sentenced to 20 years in prison. To 20 years in prison, pretty much life. 20 years to life in prison. No possibility of parole. They've appealed a few times. I think this is where the story gets interesting more. They've appealed a few times since then. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. It's actually not the greatest thing. Okay.
I mean,
so,
why wouldn't you appeal? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, everyone should.
The brothers filed for motions of mistrial, claiming that they suffered irreversible damage in the penalty phase as the result of a possible misconduct and ineffective representation by Abrams, which was correct. She kind of did her own thing for a while. Weisberg sentenced the brothers to life in prison without possibility of parole, to be served as consecutive sentences for killings and charges of conspiracy to commit murder. So the first appeal was rejected and declined because they also removed they removed the fucking evidence for the abuse. They're also recently, though, in May 2023, the brothers requested a new hearing by filing documents which are based on newly found evidence which allegedly prove, and there's a lot of proof because this guy has said it out loud, proves that their father had also molested a boy band member named Roy Rossello, specifically on April 18, 2023, on a segment of the Today Show about an upcoming docuseries of the Menendez brothers. Rossello stated that when he was 14 years old, he was drugged and raped by Jose Menendez while he was visiting the Menendez home in New Jersey, and confirms Lyle and Eric were also part of that molestation.
Like, they did it to him?
No, that they were
had
also
it done
victims.
too?
Yeah, that they also
Okay.
had, that they also
So
had done to
that
them.
could bring the evidence of their
Of their trial to
abuse.
life, yeah,
Back
and be able to make it admissible. With the docuseries on, I think the Menendez brothers have a good chance at being released upon the murder one charges. I don't think that they should be out of jail. I think that they should be. I think that murder charge should be downgraded to either manslaughter or like I guess erratic use of a firearm. I don't see murder one because you have all these. It's like it's like that girl from it's like that girl from that Hulu series, the fucking that Rose chick, that Rose Blanchard chick, the one that where the mom fucked her up with medication and made her seem like she was sick.
Yeah.
Like
The
I don't think
Munchausens?
I don't think that girl should have gone to jail. She killed her mom because she fucking crippled her for life. Or like, well, during the time, made her sick with medication and everything. She deserved to die. Sorry.
Now you don't have to be sorry.
I think Rose Blanchard's mom deserved to die. Like, sorry, bro.
Oh well, she was sick. Yeah, you can be sick, but you hurt your own kid.
You made her sicker.
Yeah.
Like, for what? For attention? Go fuck yourself. And
now you got the attention you wanted,
bro.
bitch.
Let me tell you one thing that I couldn't get out of my head when I read this case, because I was watching the series with Gabby, and I was trying to get this out of my head as I read it, because I started looking into the police reports and all that stuff. I was trying to read it, and during one of the tapings that they have with their attorney, I didn't listen to the tape, but I read the transcripts. Oh my god. And again, I'm sorry, this is graphic, so please. One of the things that Eric says is that he started sneaking his dad's cinnamon. He started sneaking his cinnamon in his coffee and his food and everything, so it would taste better.
Oh.
Do you know how bad it was to read that? And I was like, oh my fucking god. I was like, that's horrible, dude. Just to hear, because it says on the transcripts, begin sobbing, and he says that. It's like, you could imagine being there and just hearing that guy relive that over and over and over and over again.
If that's true.
If that's true, yeah. That's
one of those where it gets me. It's like, yeah, just let him out. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
No. Don't fuck that guy. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Stop fucking that guy.
No.
It's just it's horrible to hear or to read those accounts, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh.
And then you're supposed to feel bad. It's like, I don't feel like right now. You think I feel bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got your face caved. Good for you.
If that is all fake. If these people are lying, yeah, I feel bad for the parents.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit for being that way to his kids, but I feel bad.
Yeah. But if he never really sexually abused them, then what was it? Tough love. It's like then that's not killing.
Move out.
Yeah, then move out. That's not killing. That's not killing worthy. That's, hey, Dad, you're a piece of shit. I'm not gonna talk to you. Go down.
That happens
nursing home.
all the time.
All the time. Constantly.
But if that is true, good riddance.
Yeah, dude. Like, fuck, man. Like,
I'm supposed to feel bad for you. I got shot. Oh, you deserve much worse.
And
you got off easy.
And that's what a lot of people were saying. But with Nick Dunn, who kind of twisted the story from Vanity Fair, he made it seem like the boys were much more twisted than they seemed. Because he kept referencing back to the screenplay, and he's like, oh yeah, they had been planning this for years. It's like, maybe they have, but you got to realize, if this is true what they're saying, this led them to that. It wasn't just out of the blue. It wasn't, where did this come from? Nowhere, from an evil place. No, this came from all the times. It's also stated.
I'm holding it in.
Oh no, this is gonna get worse. It's also stated that Lyle, the attorneys were talking to him as to what he was doodling, and he says that he remembers kneeling on the tile, and it was the pattern that he doodles. So the doodling pattern is the pattern that he would stare at while the sexual acts were going on, and he doodles it now because it's just like a trauma response to kind of blank out his head. You know how horrible that fucking is? Like, oh my god! Like, I'm laughing nervously because I'm just like, I don't even know what to do.
So I'm stuck in this thing where I have to. I hope they're lying for them.
Yeah, dude.
I hope it's a lie for them, because if it's not,
oh my god!
Like, poor kids.
Yeah. If it's not a lie, then that really sucks, and they probably don't deserve to be in there. If it's not a lie, if it is a lie, then they both deserve to be in there.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Because here's the thing. What people don't realize is that if the Menendez brothers get released, since the IRS took $14 million from them, Guess who gets his $14 million back?
They do.
They do. And they have to count for inflation. So it's actually more like $50 million now that they have to give back. And also, the Menendez brothers, if this appeal goes through and they finally bring back the abuse claims and everything like that, the Menendez brothers can sue the Beverly Hills Police Department, the 3 individual judges.
It's not coming back.
And the United States government.
It's not coming back.
And the United States government to get more money.
It's not coming back. They'll find some bullshit so that they stay in prison because they would rather let them rot, even though what happened, than admit that they were wrong.
Maybe, bro. But remember, what is it? What is his name? Samuel. What is it? Samuel. Is it Welsh or whatever? The guy that they inspired The Fugitive off of. Were okay. The actual
I was going to say Samuel Hayden, but that's Doom.
Yeah, no, that's
sorry.
No. The whole Fugitive with Harrison Ford, where the one-armed man killed my wife and everything like that. So that case actually really happened. Where a guy had a similar situation, and because of the press, they labeled him guilty. And a few years later, it's like, oh no, he's not guilty. It was really this guy with one arm, and he did all this.
So it's like the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, kind of like that. That's also where it came from. Yeah, like, kind of like that. And he sued
and
the
won.
shit out of everybody and won everything.
But why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, hey, Ruby Ridge, he literally had the first get out of jail free pass card. They were just like, hey, leave him alone. Leave him alone. He's good. But yeah, if the Menendez brothers really did go through all that, then they don't belong in there. Then they need to be out. They need to be let out. They need to be given all their money back, and they need to go up on their lives however they need to go.
I get that murder is wrong. I get that we can't like give people like gold stars for murdering, but sometimes the law isn't adequate. So and you must pursue natural justice. I am literally quoting The Punisher.
I knew you were quoting.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, I get it though. Like, don't murder. But
if you're ever Gypsy Rose or the Menendez brothers, do you? You know what I mean? Like,
it's literally like that. I didn't see shit.
Yeah. Hey, yo.
I didn't see shit.
You hit something really loud with a trash can. That's all I heard.
Yep.
You know, and it sucks. And it sucks because these not kids, these guys, they were so stuck.
No. I think you had the right word. Kids. They probably never.
Mentally, they were kids. Yeah, probably. Like, they were stuck in this situation and they didn't find a way out. And I just from experience, I know what it's like to be caught in a situation where you can't get out of, and you're just like, fuck. Mine was never sexual or anything like that. Thank God. But it was still like one of those things where you're just like, you're trapped in a place, you can't get out, you don't know what to do. You just have to do what you can to kind of survive and move forward. And if it means agreeing to some terrible shit, it's like, I mean, you got to make it to tomorrow. And you even ask CIA agents and FBI agents, they'll tell you the same thing. It's like, when they teach us about interrogation, sometimes they tell us, hey, bro, you just got to survive, whatever that means. Like, if they tell you have to kill someone, like, sometimes you got to. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe that's how they felt that with their dad, the only way to get...
There was no way out.
There was no way out. They just had to please him however he wanted. And there was no way out. And with the mom, imagine you look at your parents who are supposed to guard you, and the mom confesses pretty much, yeah, I've known this whole time. I just didn't do anything about it because fuck you. It's like,
when you talked about the mom, I always think of the Crow quote, "Mother is the name for God and all children's lips." Like the first name for God and all children's lips. So when it's like, when you hear that, like she knew and didn't care. It's like, she's almost worse.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's horrible and he's actually doing anything.
But you let it happen.
You knew. You didn't do anything. And it's not, and I know we kind of had a conversation like this before, but you're their mom.
Yeah. Imagine the poor little soul that looks at you.
It's your job to protect them. You literally, every woman, when you have a child, you have the bond first. You
Before
had
anybody.
their first bond, and
Dads
you
have to
let
build
it
a bond.
go for money. That's what you did.
That's horrible.
That's worse. You gave them to a monster.
So based
money.
on what I've told you, what we've heard from the police testimony and from the witness testimony and from everything, what do you think? Do you think it's true that they went through the sexual abuse and all that stuff, or do you think it's fake? They really killed him for money? Do you think that Eric and Lyle are just some fucking sociopathic people? Because to some extent they are. They're rich. They're like super rich, so there's a correlation with that.
I'll say it like this. If it happened now, I probably wouldn't believe the sexual abuse part. But because of when it happened, that was not really in the news besides the Michael Jackson case.
Yeah.
Because it was not in the news, because it wasn't almost normalized,
Yeah.
I believe them more.
Right.
Because
right.
it's like, oh,
it gives
like,
it more of a validity.
because you wouldn't, especially back then, you wouldn't say that shit. Now, apparently everyone, like, it's like...
I raped you. Anyway. I was just saying. Are you gonna kill me now? I'm just kidding. No, but like...
No, like...
I
do
really
you
hope-
understand? Like,
No,
like,
I understand you.
I believe that they
went through something.
No, I'm not even be that general. I think that they were traumatized. I think that abuse did happen. Should they have killed their parents? Maybe not.
No.
But they did. And should they have to pay some consequences for that? Yeah. And it's almost like hey, societally we can't allow this, you know that. But should it be the rest of their lives? If it's true, should it be the rest of their lives? No. Why should they have to pay for what he did?
I think the 10 years...
Because they're still paying for it.
I think the 10 years that they've served, for me, is good enough. Is good enough already because of
another
the self-defense.
another five, and
Maybe.
they walk.
And then they walk, yeah.
Another five, they walk.
Drop it down to manslaughter. Another 5, walk. Everybody goes home happy.
Yep.
They get their money back.
Get their money, leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah, they get their money back. That's it. You don't sue additionally. You give them their money back. Give them 5 extra years. Reckless discharge of a weapon, whatever you want to put it, manslaughter, whatever. Move on.
Yep.
Move on. That's it. Give them their money back. Let them live their lives in their fucking rich ass neighborhood and their thing, whatever. Just leave them the fuck alone. Leave them the fuck alone.
Now,
because more than likely, if those people get out, if those guys get out and they get their money back, more than likely, if this is all real, they're gonna be like, we don't want anybody to go through this shit again, and they're gonna do whatever they can.
Here's the thing, though. Now, if they get out, and you start hearing shit about them with that kind of shit, then the rest of your fucking life, fuck you.
Right. Because a lot of people are thinking as well, should Lyle be charged for sexually abusing his brother?
You know what? From what I've heard, I bet you he would turn himself in. If they're like, hey, he'd be like, all right, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let my brother go
I
free
deserve
and I
it.
got you.
Yeah, I deserve it. And
But also think about the trauma. Like, he was in his brain, if this is true, he's trying to normalize.
But just based on what you said, I understand that. And I'm not saying he should.
Right.
But I think he would. He'd be like, no, I'll go in for the rest of my life. He deserves to be free. Like,
yeah, he deserves freedom.
That would, I'd be like,
all that.
Then don't arrest him.
Yeah.
Because he genuinely feels bad for what he did.
And he's genuinely trying to make it up. Yeah, I agree. I thought this was an interesting case. I know it's not a case.
Sad case.
It's a sad case. It's not a case that we normally go over. Typically, there's mystery. Typically, it's unsolved. Typically, we never see the person again. This one is just more internal controversy. We know who did it. We know that they're in jail, but we don't know the circumstances of why they did it, which is what we're hoping with this new appeal. We'll be able to figure out the truth now that we have another person that's also claiming to have been a victim. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully we can get something good out of it or something bad out of it. Doesn't matter. I'm not saying that the Menendez brothers should go free. I'm not saying that the Menendez brothers deserve to be in jail. I'm just saying people really need to take a double look at this case and not be so critical if the abuse that they're alleging is real. That's
the whole thing. What you just said. If that happened, it changes things.
Yeah, it does.
But if it didn't, yeah, just don't. I don't want to hear from you again.
And also, if that evidence proves to be admissible, and there's evidence to corroborate that other judge, those other two judges, and the investigators, and I think if he wasn't dead, Nick Dunn should be prosecuted for defamation.
Maybe not the first judge, but definitely this second
Yeah.
judge. It would never happen because judges get away with that shit all the time.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
we'll see, because that's all we can do.
Yeah. But before you sign off, I just want to tell you guys real quick about another case. There's a guy from Colorado who got a case for alienation of affection against his wife who cheated on him, and he tried to basically say, hey bro, like we live a happy life, and she was like, no, yeah, we live a happy life, and he forgave her and everything. She cheated on him again, sued her for $9 million, and he won. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a great night.